Katie Price, the always late narcissist. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Timekeeping and punctuality are two aspects which are interesting when it comes to the behaviour of the narcissist. Some people are not very good at being punctual. They are often late. This might be as a consequence of an inability to be organised, that they're easily distracted. It doesn't mean, just because someone is habitually late, that they are a narcissist. But it is an indicator. It was once said, of course, that punctuality is the politeness of kings. In other words, that because the king has so much, that by ensuring that they are on time is the one thing that a monarch could give to other people. When it comes to the narcissist, certain narcissists are habitually late. They're late in delivering things. They're late in turning up for events. They're late in joining you. This is because they're so self-absorbed that their focus is on them and not you. That when you are not on the narcissist's radar, you simply do not exist. And the narcissist is not driven by any sense of accountability towards you. Indeed, if you're to point out that a narcissist is late, they will come with some ready-made excuse because it's never their fault. In some instances, they may be telling you the truth. So there is the utilisation of the truth to avoid accountability and to nullify the threat to control. There was an accident on the way here, and therefore there was a traffic jam, so I was delayed. In other instances, they may well use a lie. For instance, there was a car crash on the railway line, which meant that my train was delayed. But there was no actual car crash. There was no actual delay. The real reason was that they were busy doing something else, so they missed the train and had to catch a later one. But their narcissism recognises that such an admission would make them look bad, so instead causes them to concoct this tale of the crashed car on the level crossing, so that they can evade accountability, nullify the threat to control through this revision of history. Some instances, the excuses that are utilised by the narcissist are plausible. In other instances, they're truly ridiculous, along the lines of the dog ate my homework and then ran away. The fact is that the narcissist is preoccupied with what matters to them. And if they don't have you on the radar, you don't exist, you don't matter. So if they're talking to somebody else, all the narcissism cares about is talking to that person, asserting control over them, drawing fuel from them. Their continued involvement with that person makes them late for a meeting with you, but they're not thinking about you. You don't exist. It's only when you perhaps text that person and say, "I'm here, where are you?" that you're brought back onto the radar, that the narcissist will then spring into life to perhaps close down the existing conversation and then come and see you. But even then, it's not guaranteed. And I've explained in separate videos about that particular dynamic, whereby you're sat waiting, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for the narcissist to turn up, and they are incredibly late. You will find with certain narcissists that there is this habitual lateness in attendance, in the delivery of products, services, reports, whatever it might be, and naturally, it's never their fault. Think about those diva superstars that invariably turn up on stage hours late for their performance. Madonna is notorious in that regard. Lo and behold, she's a narcissist. Operating with that sense of entitlement, the world revolves around me, let them wait, I'm the important one. The narcissist doesn't care about your time, doesn't care about the obligation that they have, doesn't care about the fact that you have been waiting and you might have other things to do. That's irrelevant. What they are doing matters far more. And we see two instances in relation to the car crash narcissist that is Katie Price. I must tell you that if you are feeling a little bit down about your own life, just read something about Katie Price, and I guarantee you'll soon feel better about your circumstances, because she is such a haphazard clusterfuck of an individual, you can't help but perk up when you read about what goes on in her life. At the moment, Katie Price and Kerry Katona, some of you may be familiar with her. She used to sing in a band called Atomic Kitten, and she married Brian McFadden from one of the Irish boy bands, Westlife, I think it was. And she is another individual that has had more than her fair share of haphazard behaviours, drug issues, weird television appearances, disruptive relationships, and so forth. These two have come together in what could only be described as slapper central for a show, and you really do have to wonder who on earth is turning up to watch these two on stage, but that's a rant for another occasion. But the fact is that they're going on tour around various smallish venues around the United Kingdom, and they were due to perform at the Whitley Bay Playhouse. Why, aye, man. You gan into Spanish City afterwards, like. But shortly before the event, fans were informed that the start time had been pushed back to 8 p.m, owing to technical difficulties beyond organisers' control. However, an attendee at the event explained that Katie was nowhere to be seen when the show started, leaving Kerry Katona to perform solo until Price eventually arrived more than 2 hours later. The onlooker added that when Katie eventually arrived on stage, she brushed off her lateness by telling the audience, "Shit happened, sorry, at least no one died." She's on a tour. She knows what time the show starts, she knows where she needs to be, and she turns up 2 hours late. This demonstrates her entitlement, her lack of accountability to those that have paid to see her, her lack of emotional empathy. She doesn't give a rat's ass about it. And when she turns up, there's no real apology. It's false contrition. Shit happened, sorry, at least no one died. And she's just dismissive and brushes it off, part of her haughty and arrogant attitude. She's late. She doesn't care. Lord knows what she was doing. Possibly she needed to hire a crane to hoist her ridiculous bosom. Or that she looked in the mirror and caught sight of herself, and suddenly for a brief moment the somatic distortion field was shattered as she thought, what the hell is that horror looking back at me? And she passed out. We can only speculate as to the reasons why she was late, but we can understand that it was driven by her narcissism, her lack of accountability, her sense of entitlement. It's also the case that she appeared in a video which she had created herself, doing a piece to her camera phone when she was in Birmingham, where she talked about the fact, with disdain, that she had hotel staff knocking on her door saying, "Come on, it's time to go." In the video, she's complaining about this fact. Well, once again, hotels have checkout times for a reason, so that they can then turn down the room. But of course, this entitled narcissist believes that the world revolves around her and that everybody should accommodate what she wants to do. So she's slovenly and has had a lie-in and then has taken a while to pack her stuff. They're just going to have to wait. And it shows again her lack of awareness and her entitlement, that first of all, she fails to comply with the checkout time, that she's still in her room packing. Secondly, it isn't the case that staff turn up dead on the time, say 11 a.m, and eject you. They usually call you to check that you're out of the room because they've seen that you've not checked out. Or they'll give you maybe 10, 15 minutes, half an hour's grace. So she was probably well beyond the checkout time when staff actually went and knocked on the door. So she's once again taking the piss through her sense of entitlement. And then, rather than be embarrassed about her tardy behaviour, She doubles down on it by recording a piece to camera complaining about the fact that people were telling her to get out of the room, as if it's their fault. Blame shifting. Once again, she's late to check out. And she's an excellent example of this aspect of narcissistic behaviour, whereby the sense of entitlement of the narcissist, their belief that the world revolves around them, results in them repeatedly being late to do things, and then expressing disbelief when somebody calls them out about that behaviour, upbraids them for their tardiness, points out that they're late. I can do what I want. Who do you think you are, pointing out that I'm late? I arrived precisely when I meant to. The fact is that Katie Price is a narcissist, and she is the always late narcissist, as demonstrated by these examples, of which there are many more. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.